Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Evette Avery Herrod is in the house, and she will be featured today like no other. Likewise, in the house, we have Brige MCP. We also have AVQ, Brother Rudnin. Anyway, let's go ahead and get busy because Rudnin says Napa Valley Register, McCarthy, and other GOP lawmakers led by Arkansas Representative Bruce Westerman, backed a bill to incentivize growing timber forests in the U.S. as part of a worldwide effort to plant 1 trillion trees. Westerman said he expects a similar proposal to advance this year. For Republicans, the bill checks the right boxes as Speaker Kevin McCarthy visited a natural gas drilling site in Northeast Ohio to promote House Republicans' plan to sharply increase domestic production of energy from fossil fuels last month. The signs of rising global temperature could not be ignored. Smoke from Canadian wildfires hung in the air. When asked about climate change and forest fires, he was ready with a response: plant 1 trillion trees. The idea revealed recent Republican thinking on how to address climate change. The party is no longer denying that global warming exists, yet is searching for a response to sweltering summers and extreme weather disasters that doesn't involve abandoning their enthusiastic support for American produced energy from burning coal, oil, and gas. Plant 1 trillion trees? Yes, please do it. I'll be cheering on for bipartisan legislation. You're not going to get any pushback on this effort. Trump had the same idea in January 2020 at the World Economic Forum. Y'all didn't get any pushback from me then either. But planting 1 trillion trees is not even close to enough. I mean, remember what fossil fuels are, folks. Fossil fuel represents millions of years of trees and plants and animals that have permeated through the ground and turned itself into oil under conditions of pressure, heat, etc. The growth rate of trees are not enough to override the amount of pollution we're throwing into the air. Not only that, but while trees will absorb carbon dioxide, they won't be absorbing any one of the other polluting gases, right? So let's be clear here. Yes, plant 1 million trees. It will take some carbon out of the air. But you know what all those trees that are burning in Canada is? Do you know what all those trees, those forest fires throughout the world that are burning? That is what happens when you don't get the mitigation of your weather. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a fission reaction. Once started, it continues. So if we plant more trees but not do anything else, and we're not mitigating what's going to cause forest fires, etc., as we plant more trees, we burn more trees. Look at the number of square miles of forests that's going up into flames. So let's be real here. And we need, and you don't get it. While I agree with Brother Rudnin that we don't push back against planting trees, that's always a good thing. But we can't plant ourselves out of this disaster. We can't plant enough trees to solve our problems. We've got to do real things to solve our problems, and that is burning less fossil fuel. Punto y final. And when we get there, then we can start making other adjustments. In fact, I have a feeling we'll have to start cleaning the air as well. We're gonna, if we want to speed things up, we're gonna have to make mega investments into mega cleaners of the atmosphere. I mean, at some point we have to give in. Anyhow, folks, anyhow, continuing. Let me go back down. Michael Roy Egberto, the plan for 1 trillion trees is a good start, and it's pushing the Republican Party away from denialism towards action. Once we start addressing climate change, we're not going to stop. I agree 100%. Melanie Keelan says, I thought grasslands were more important than artificial forests. You know, I believe there is something to that, Melanie Keelan, that and that is because as well the growth rate of many grasses exceed that of what it takes a tree to turn itself into carbon. I read that years ago. I would have to reread it, but I understand that there's some truth to that. And it's yeah, again, it's a faster capture of carbon, if you will. Carl Cox is in the house. Spence is lying, a pile of crap. That's true. Who else we got in the house? Good evening from Maywood. He says, "How are we all doing on Monday?" We're all doing great. Today, our star of the show, our UPS Union Steward, uh, is going to be, well, she's in the house, but she gave a hell of an interview. We played this on KPFT in the Pacifica Network on air this morning at 6 o'clock. And Evette Avery Herrod, here we go again. I mean, have solidarity with UPS. Let's have solidarity with unions and the workers of America. So without further ado, I will shut my mouth and let's get started with Evette Avery Herrod. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today we're honored to have Evette Avery. Evette is a working mother providing for her family. She has been a Teamsters Union Steward at UPS as well as an activist for workers' rights for several years. And Evette continues what she does best. As we know, there are issues with UPS right now that she's going to tell us about the strike that is impending, or maybe not. I don't know. Let's talk to the one who knows. Evette, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me again.
I am great. I mean, I was looking at some videos earlier in the week, and I saw that you were prepping all these different Teamsters and so forth. So, in case you guys strike, you guys hit the road running. Talk to me a little bit about, first of all, before we get into the specifics, what is it that you're doing to kind of gear the folks up?
Well, right now we have been practice picketing. So here in Atlanta and all over the U.S., Teamsters at different locals have been going to different locations and having practice picketing, getting the members ready for the actual strike if it may occur. A lot of our members have never been through a strike, have never been involved with a picket line, so they're not aware of all of what you can and can't do, our do's and don'ts to striking. So they want to make sure that the members are aware and know what it is to actually participate in a strike if necessary.
In other words, you're not going to give the corporation or the police officials any reason to mistreat your employees. You're going to make sure that they know what they need to do, what's within the law, and to ensure that they get what's best for them.
That is correct. Very true.
Now, I don't quite understand the issue here in this regards. UPS made over $13 billion in profits. Remember, that is money that you have made for the company, for those that are sitting on their butts as investors and executives. Explain to me, what is it that you, the UPS worker, want?
Well, utmost, we always want dignity and respect, but we want to share in the profits that we help create. We worked all the way through COVID, no COVID pay, no hazard pay. So we had to go to work every
Hold on.
day.
Let me back up. I don't under. What do you mean that you didn't get hazard pay? Did UPS workers partake in the PPP that gave extra pay and time off, etc., to many Americans?
Right. So if you got sick with COVID, now it was an agreement that we can get paid days off up to 10 days. But other than that, if you were uh, an employee that been there less than like 9 months, you didn't qualify for any short-term disability leave. So if say you caught COVID more than once, which we had several people do, you only get that one time being paid those 10 days. So if you didn't have the additional leave, you couldn't take off, and that put people at even more risk to want to work while sick because they couldn't afford not to work. But we didn't get, like I say, any pay on top of our just normal regular pay to come to work during the whole, situation of COVID. Never, getting the days off. Is just come to work as normal, work longer hours because of course more people were ordering things. So we would, having to deliver more things. And then we were even delivering COVID vaccine, even when we weren't even eligible for it. So we were making sure everybody had what they needed by putting our lives and our family lives at risk the whole time.
I think America needs to hear this. you were delivering vaccines to the rest of America, you were at a possible risk of being infected by all those you were delivering to. And at the same time, you couldn't get the vaccine, you didn't get hazard pay. And in the event that you are a part time worker or a new worker and you got sick a second time, which because they want you to work, you'll probably get sick, you stayed without pay.
And that's even the full timer. So if you got, more than 10 days with COVID, you weren't going to get that pay. Like I said, unless you qualify for short term disability. After that, you might can apply. But then, of course, short term disability, you have to wait those 7 days before the payment starts. So some people just couldn't afford to try to take that off. And
So
we're putting themselves and others at risk.
I guess the UPS probably held on to that PPP money and didn't distribute it as it was designed to distribute. Okay, so now,
Yeah.
Evette, what is it that what specifically is the union saying? This is what our people want.
Well, the fair wages are a big issue. We have part timers who are not paid a livable wage. They always used to focus on the full timers, getting them paid good wages, but the part timers over the several last few contracts have just been left behind. And so people need to recognize that no matter who you are, whether it's a part time, full time job, every person's hour of labor should be a livable wage. It should be paid at a livable wage just for your 1 hour of labor. It doesn't matter if you're part time because you're working less hours. Of course, you're not going to be able to live off of that, maintaining your entire lifestyle off of part time pay. But that hour of labor is no less than anybody else just because you're part time. It should be a livable wage. And so we're fighting for them to have livable wages, increases in some pensions, making sure that they're definitely taken care of. I mean, we've gotten some wins throughout these negotiations as far as the, AC coming to the trucks, as far as getting rid of the position I currently hold, which is a 22-4, that get paid less as a driver than other drivers. So we've
Wait,
made some,
why is that?
um, because a two-tier pay system was created the last contract. Like I said, we voted it down. No, our last leadership administration pushed it through anyway, which gave them the opportunity to pay us less. And I'm considered a combination driver, so I can work inside and drive. But the company has used majority of us to drive all the time, so they're not even using the position for what it was created for. And so I'm driving all the time, working next to another driver, driving all the time, but get up to pay, in certain places up to $10 less an hour doing the same job.
You
So
have
it's a
got to be
two-tier
kidding
system.
me.
No, it's a two-tier system. In my building, for sure, I'm the lowest paid driver in the building. And I've been there 17 years, but because when I came in, the type of driver I had to be, once I decided to cross over to full time, I am now, like I say, the lowest paid driver in my center. So because of
And
that two-tier pay.
and I imagine you're trying to fix that two-tier system right now.
Yes, they did say they were going to get rid of the 22-4. Yet the first offer they did give still would have caused me to have a lower rate of pay because they wanted to reduce the pay of top out for a full time driver to around $9 less than what it currently is. So they was like, oh, okay, you can become a regular full time driver, but you're still not going to get paid as much as they are currently. So they were trying to still keep the two-tier pay, but try to take away just the name to make it seem as if they were doing us a favor. But of course, our union leadership didn't fall for that, and neither are we.
I think what it seems to me like what they're trying to do, if they're trying to keep the same name but a lower pay for those already there, is it means all the new hires will come in at the lower pay, is what they're
Right.
trying to do. Is that
And
correct?
people, yeah. Right. And then people like me who are already currently being paid less, I would continue to be paid less. But now I would get some certain protections that I don't get now, as far as not having to work so much overtime without additional compensation through the grievance process and other things. So regular drivers get protections that we don't get as 22-4 drivers. So I would get the protections, but I still wouldn't have gotten the pay. So
Yeah, it's
defeat the
not fair at
purpose.
all. What else are we
No.
looking for?
And of course, even with the increases, we were looking at getting better yearly increases, which they went to trying to give us 50 cents for an entire year, splitting it up into two pieces, 25 cents in February, 25 cents in
Wait, are we
August.
saying 25 pennies? That's what we're talking.
Yes, 25 pennies, a 1/4. And, what's 25 cents or 50 cents going to
A
do
burger,
when
maybe?
We can't even do that. It won't buy cheese these days on the burger. It's crazy because they hadn't kept up with inflation at all when it comes to what the hourly rate is of people being paid. So we're definitely looking for those things to be taken care of. 95% of our contract has been, reported to be completed, but it's the economic portion that UPS is not trying to actually give the workers what they deserve on that end.
Now their profits again zoomed up. They made
Oh,
$13
yeah.
billion, as I recall, last year. The
Hmm.
question is, and for those that are listening to us, I want, when we speak on politics done right about unionization and why, and corporate executives being nothing more than high paid thieves, high paid thugs, this is the reason why. They got $13 billion in profits. They had a windfall profit compared to what they made previous years in a pandemic year, because the volume of
Hmm.
packages, because of the new way. And you know what's interesting, Event? Even as the pandemic is quote unquote over, people have adapted. They kind of like this thing about staying home and having more things delivered, which means
Right.
your volume has increased. You are doing more work. That profit does not belong to the executives and the shareholders. That's
Right.
your money. They should be asking you if you are willing to share it with them. That is what you
Correct.
would call an equitable society, if one in which the people who actually earn the money are the ones who decide what to do with the money. Your thoughts on that, Yvette?
Oh, that's exactly true. It's very disrespectful of the company to not be willing to share those profits. Like I say, back on July 5th, they told the Teamsters, well, we have nothing else to offer. But yet we offered everything. We gave everything throughout the pandemic. We gave sacrifice after sacrifice just by coming in every day in that risk. I mean, it was a very, very scary time. We had no idea what we were dealing with in the beginning. And they used to tell us stuff stayed on surfaces for so long, cardboard. Well, we're dealing with boxes all day. So we're not sure if what we touch is going to kill us. Like, it was really a scary time. But yet and still, we had to be there every day. We were not allowed to work from home. We couldn't do that. So definitely they should share in every single profit that we created for them.
I bet there were no shareholders or executives walking into those warehouses to show solidarity with the workers who are actually earning the income for the company. Did you see any executives, or you're
Oh,
lying to
no,
me, Yvette? I'm sorry. They had to
they
go
were
there to at least
nowhere.
show solidarity.
Nowhere near us. I'm sure, from my understanding, our CEO was away at her farm. I mean, we had people, they were not touched by this. They were away from it. They had the money and the comfortability to be at home and away from everything and conduct whatever meetings they wanted to on Zoom. And we couldn't do that. You can't Zoom a box to the house. So we had to come to work. It would have been nice if they would have came down and saw exactly what was going on, the unclean buildings, the lack of PPE that's being provided to the people. That type of stuff is what we were dealing with on top of the pandemic. So that's something they should have came to see, and maybe they would have understood a little bit more how much of a risk we took every day.
I don't. Let me tell you. I think you may give them a bit too much credit into believing that they don't know what's going on, or that they
Um,
know why they didn't come to the warehouses. They
oh,
know they know all of that. But I think what it shows is that these people are psychopaths. They
yeah.
like to look at the average American citizen like, oh, he doesn't want to come to work. Or no, I'm sorry. The average American citizen works. The average
Right.
executive and shareholders sit on their rear ends and accomplish very little for society. You are the ones that bring, I mean, those boxes that we were happy to see from whether it be from the grocery store, whether it be from Amazon, whether it be from wherever, you all kept our economy going. You all are
Right.
solely responsible for all the tier one workers, from cash registers to all the others. And that is why I think uh, what, and I don't think the mainstream media has done enough of this. Those first line workers should have been revered for who they are, revered for what they accomplished, and revered for keeping us alive for that difficult period of time. And I don't think enough was made of this issue for the importance that you all represent, Evette. And I'm glad that you are here talking about this. And I hope that more people go out there and let Americans know what's going on, because these guys up that we like to respect, we like to look at these high paid executives respectfully. We like to look at these shareholders respectfully. I'm sorry. Many of them are no different than, well, actually are very different than our average pickpocketer, because they're pickpocketing legally. They're
Hmm.
high class thugs. Continue, my friend.
That's so true. We were considered essential. We were called heroes, and all those things. Even had to, present. We talked about today earlier a letter they gave us in order to be able to show the law enforcement if we were out past curfew to let them know we were supposed to be on the road just so we can get to work. So we went through all those things, and yet and still, what we get now was basically, yeah, this is all we can give you. It makes no sense. And of course, like you said, they're very aware of what's going on, but they don't want to come inside those buildings and actually have to face the people that are doing this to call them out on it. Because if they come and see us, we will let them know what we're thinking. So of course, they stay far, far away and won't dare, come around to see exactly what's going on in those buildings.
So then, as I understand it, then the basic thing that you want is you want to get rid of a two-tier system. I don't know if you're going to get that this time around, but you ultimately want to get rid of a two-tier system. You want to ensure that you have air conditioning in these trucks. And I find it amazing, right? Climate change is on with us. The corporatocracy are some of the ones that are fighting solving the climate change problem, and still they don't want to give you things to make you to keep you healthy in a bus. The
Correct.
constant heat puts stress on the body, reduces your lifespan for that excessive stress. So they have no problems harming you, if you will. What else? So it's air conditioning, equal pay, more pay that at least tracks inflation and above. And is there anything else that I'm missing that you want?
Yeah, definitely less harassment. We had to strengthen our harassment language, making sure they're not stealing from our employees but through wage theft. We have stuff in place that they're supposed to pay a certain amount of guaranteed hours, but they go in, change codes, try to pay people less, don't pay people their guarantees. So they have a lot of issues within that company that needs to be changed, which we do most of it through our contract, but it's other things and other ways we are going to have to put them into shape to get them to treat their employees fair and with dignity and respect at all times. So those are other issues that are also a problem there. Our safety issue, of course, is one big thing. Not only safety with the heat related stuff, which we did, like I say, when the ACs are ready. So they're going to install air conditioners, of course, in the new trucks, and they're supposed to be doing something. I think they have like a 6 month time frame in which they have to get everything completed. But also just the safety of our drivers, out on the road. We face a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't realize when we go out there as well. Safety issues that need to be addressed. We run into people with guns being pulled on us, people being kidnapped and killed, all just trying to deliver packages. So, it's a lot of things that need to be addressed by the company. And we hope to get everything that we asked for, within these proposals that were submitted as soon as possible.
Now, from the way things look, how does it look? Are they talking again, or where are we at with the strike?
So last week, UPS reached out to the Teamsters and said that they'll be willing to come back to the table. So the date scheduled would be this coming Tuesday for them to come back to the table. We currently sit at 8 days that are left before our contract expires and we would be officially on strike. Now, if they by chance come to a tentative agreement, something that the union think is worthy of us to vote on, then they can agree that, okay, this is our tentative agreement. We may be able to work past August the 1st or July 31st. And then if we get a chance to do that, the members still have to vote on it. So they still have to send it out to us. We have to vote. If we agree, then we'll continue to work on. If we vote no, then at that point we'll be going into a strike. So it's possible that it'll come after August 1st if a tentative agreement is made, or on August 1st if nothing has been
Now,
completed by then.
Being in the union leadership, do you have any inside information that tells you if how things are looking, whether maybe they're really trying to avoid this, what I think would be a catastrophe?
Well, it's all up to the company, actually. The company is the one who's going to strike themselves because, we have been perfectly clear from the beginning. The people who are actually on the negotiating committee, because I'm not one of those actually negotiating the contract, have to sign NDA. So they can't give out information specifics until after they actually agree. So once they
Got
agree
you.
upon stuff, then we get that specific knowledge. That's why we knew we've already won the AC. We already got rid of the 22-4. So we know certain things that have already been completed. But as far as, if UPS is going to, do the right thing all of a sudden and just agree to everything, for me being around 17 years, I don't see them doing it. But it's possible somebody, somewhere has, got a brain all of a sudden and grew a heart and said, okay, we're going to meet all the demands so you don't have a strike. But personally, I don't see it happening. But, miracles can happen, I guess. So we will have to just wait and see if they
Well,
truly stand up and do the right thing.
it won't be a heart that they grow. It's going to be a pocketbook that they look at. It won't be a heart.
Right. Because
But
that's all it is, the pocketbook, which
right,
is
they
their
don't.
heart. That's all they
Right,
gauge everything on.
they
Right.
care nothing about you or the employees. They just care about how much green they can get. Now, I heard through the grapevine that they were actually trying to train scabs, but as we know,
Mhm.
UPS is too darn big to really for scabs to actually be successful. So maybe they're starting to realize that scabs ain't going to work for any extended period of time.
Yeah, through my entire time there at 17 years, we have never been fully staffed. So if all of a sudden you're going to get fully staffed, well, we're on strike, it's no way possible. You can never replace 360 or 340,000 Teamsters workers in a couple of days. It's not going to happen. The drivers do a great job. Our loaders and unloaders do an amazing, and it's hard work that it takes some time to understand and learn. And the supervisors will not be able to handle it neither with anybody they bring in off the street to try to do it. So it's just impossible.
And what they don't realize is that you guys have insurance, or rather, not insurance, but you guys have uh, uh, guarantees that you provided to certain companies, and the companies don't care if you're on strike or not. Those guarantees have to be upheld, else the payment for the lack of services. Anyway, Yvette, why don't you give me a closer here?
Well, I just like to encourage everybody out there, whether you're customers in our community, to stand strong with your fellow workers. We want our customers to get everything that they deserve and everything that they order, but we also want our workers to also get everything that they deserve and worked hard for and are currently fighting for. So if you can come out, support us in any way, we'd greatly appreciate that. And make sure to call UPS, tell them to do the right thing because you value what your UPS drivers and the ones you come in contact with have done for you, let the company know they should value it as well.
Evette Avery Herrod, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics and Right. But more importantly, folks that are listening right here, remember, these are our essential workers. These are the folks who make America run. So we must support Evette and the entire union movement in this country. Thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you again for bringing us on and keeping us in the forefront.
We'd spend a lot. Was Yvette great or what? Did you really understand what's going on or not? It was, thank you very much, Yvette. I could not have done that any better. And we need to get on board with this union movement, folks. We have to make sure that we support these folks 100%. 100%. Now, um, I want to start addressing some of the stuff that folks said there because this is very important. I want to start with what our brother Lee Grant said because it has some in what he said has some implications that I want to examine, but I am scrolling up to it right now. I hope I find it because it's important that I address him immediately on that comment. So bear with me as I search for his comment. It was after Rudden talked about the amount of money and by the way, Rudden, if you notice, I have your stuff on the screen. Living wages now. You're absolutely right. That's what we want to see. Okay, here's what Lee Grant says. Lee Grant says, I wonder what kind of wage a UPS driver makes. And he then says that I found average UPS driver hourly pays 21.94, which is 35% above the national average. I want to stop there. First of all, I was on the Rick Smith show when I was at in Chicago, and he's a truck driver. Rick Smith, the guy who has that radio show, one of the largest progressive radio shows in the country as well. And he's a truck driver, and we started to talk about this UPS issue, and we actually spoke a lot about fearing that the union guy wasn't going to be able to produce what the UPS workers wanted, and the reason why was that he thought that in the previous arrangement they set themselves into a trap, but we won't go into exactly all the things that he told me there. All right. But when I hear a Lee Grant comes across with a message that says that because they're making $21.94, they're making 35% above what the national average is, it upsets me. And let me tell you why, brother, it upsets me. Because that is what we have learned. That is what the corporatocracy, the plutocracy has taught us to do. It has taught us to bottom feed. It has taught us to be crabs, that as others are crawling out of the filthy pail, instead of saying, hey guys, crawl out. I want you out. And remember, come back with a string to lift me out. We're saying, well, if I can't be up there with you making that salary, then why are you complaining? You're making 35% more than I do. But you know what? Whoever complains about what the executives and shareholders make for doing nothing, listen to what Evette said. When Evette talks about going out there and working during the pandemic, and the executives are at home sitting on their butts, and the shareholders are at their pool drinking their lemonade and eating their caviar, as those workers at the register, the nurses, and everybody else putting their lives at risk. But it doesn't only happen with pandemics. It happened with the heat. It happens with all the things that we go through. And we complain about because they make a good wage and want something that is even more equitable. We want to say, well, hell, you make 35% more than the rest of America. Well, no, the reality is all of that $13 billion excess profit that UPS made was not a penny of that was made by the shareholder. Not a penny of that was made by the executives. Evette made that money. Evette and her on all the other drivers. They are the ones with that increased traffic to deliver products to us. They made it. So, when we talk about makers and takers, let's remember who the makers are. The makers are the Evettes of the world. The takers are the executives and the shareholders. Don't dare forget that. And don't dare tell me that instead of lifting that person up that is down by 35%, it's not the UPS worker making 35% more than the average American. It's the average American being underpaid by more than 35%. You see, it's the framing that we use. It's the framing in which we look at things. Americans are underpaid. If you take a look at the productivity curve versus the wage curve, the productivity curve went through the roof and the wage curve stayed flat over the last 40 years. And guess what that means? The difference between the productivity curve and the wage curve is the excess profits that went to the corporations, the shareholders, the executives, and not you. But we are so busy pulling each other down that we can't see where the problems really lie. Yvette, thank you so kindly for that interview. Let me continue reading these messages real quickly here. Lee Grant, I'm glad that most UPS drivers are paid above $20, but there's a subset of part-time drivers who are being grossly underpaid. But even the $20 is not enough for what a UPS driver does. All right. British MCP said UPS drivers do get paid well. It's the other things like the Evette, like what Evette is saying. It's right. Bridge also says, Michael Rudner Lee Grant, I'm glad that most UPS drivers are paid above $20 an hour. Let's see what else we got here. Bushno, hello, relatives from E2247. Welcome aboard E2247. Coming as Yvette said, 17 years, and she is paid less than the other FT drivers because of the two-tier system. Eric Hayes says postal workers make 35 to 53K. So is UPS in the same range, and would our government pay more? I tell you what, USPS and all of them deserve to make more than what they're making given the jobs that they're doing. Okay. And by the way, the USPS, United States Postal Service, is a lot more efficient in the aggregate than the corporations because they don't have to pay shareholder profits, they don't shareholder dividends, and they don't have to pay executive pay. So again, by definition, the USPS is more profitable. And what is so sad is that somehow we think that there's something wrong with the USPS. Anyway, let's continue. Bree says, Evette Avery Herrod, are UPS drivers getting AC? I heard they were. Yes, they did that. Egberto, please ask her. Yes, they are. They are getting. They agreed on that particular one on the new trucks. I don't know about if they're. I don't think they're retrofitting the old trucks. Rudden says UPS drivers on track to get air-conditioned trucks for the first time. The package carrier reached a tentative deal with Teamsters leading to 340,000 employees to address long-standing heat-related concerns. Yes, so yeah, Yvette actually said that in the interview. Carl Cox says mainstream media is owned by mega rich. Thus they won't say anything about wage disparity in favor of mega rich. Exactly. Kudos to Yvette for bringing her perspective. Let me just correct that, Lee Grant. That is not her perspective. That is reality. She again, we have to differentiate from the where people says as if there's a balance here. There's no balance here at all. Yvette is just telling things the way they are. She is illustrating. It's not a perspective. It is a fact. It's important that we differentiate. Hey, Yvette, there us illegal aliens ready to take your job and more coming every day. Okay, let's that's not worth a mention. Shakula Hairstylist says UPS is the best worst job I ever had. Strike. Yeah, I don't want them to strike because it'll affect the economy. I want them to come to an agreement. Shakula Hairstylist, how long did you work for them? Let's see what else we got here. Mike C6 says Daniel Lado, right as always. Of course, no one is talking about the explosive information coming out of Joe Biden. Let's ignore the absolute corruption of the Biden family. Keep on believing that. Let's hear you die on your sword on that one. Shakula Hairstylist says we put water at the bottom of a two liter overnight to freeze, then the rest. All right, let's see what else we got here. The PDR posse is a big tent, everything under the sun. You've got that right, brother Grant. We are a big tent. Everybody is underneath here. And I love every single one of you as part of the PDR posse. Absolutely no doubt. Not only that, I speak about this PDR posse everywhere. We were out on the watermelon dance for KPFT, and the number of folks when folks came and talk about listening to the program and loving the program on air, I told them, but you know where you would really have some fun, enjoy the PDR posse because these are the best group of folk you can find. But it was funny because a lot of these folks are older from KPFT. You know, KPFT is old hippie land, kind of a community radio station, kind of a deal, right? So they're like, oh, we don't do the chat. We like to party. You know hippies, man. All right. Shakula hairstylist says pours out of you. You know you're going to die when you stop sweating. Yep, that's true. That's true. E2247 says solidarity. Thank you. UTLA now, brothers and sisters, for standing alongside 340,000 Teamsters taking on corporate greed. Agreed? Michael Ronan says, awesome interview. Yvette always gives an awesome interview, even when she does it on the local channels and otherwise. I've seen Yvette in a lot of different venues. She is simply great. Nanette Bird Smith says, thank you, Yvette. Carl Cox says, Mike Cisak, Joe Biden. I'm not a fan of, is not nearly as corrupt as Republican, conservative, Democrats like mentioned. That's very true. Sharkula hairstyles in Texas and Arizona reaches 170 plus in the trucks. I'm in Chicago, so we have some breeze between the buildings and trucks. Yeah, I was just in Chicago. The wind coming over the wind coming over the lake is kind of nice. Shakula hairstylist says the space between the buildings and truck also suffice as urinal for the men. Stop it, Shakula. Erica Hayes says progressives nonsense paid by our government and taxpayers have to listen to this garbage. Really? Boy, I feel for you, my dear Eric. I still love you, but you're completely trastornado. Shakula here says FedEx is worse to their people. They buy their own trucks and maintain them. I would work at UPS again, but not FedEx union reps. I spoke to that. There are two tiers at FedEx. You can own your truck and go ahead, and they will give you all the material to deliver the package, but they pay you a fixed cost, and you got to go ahead and do the best you can. Eric Hayes says, work hard. Egberto, the management does do the deliveries. Also, their nurses fired for not getting the job done. Now, you call them essential. They are essential. Yes, they're essential. And by the way, the executives in general are completely overpaid. Again, I repeat, they do very little, period. They do very little. Lee Grant says, I just cited a statistic. The implication you make of this are your machinations, not mine. No, you said something right. I see what you're saying. You gave me, you know what? Actually, Lee Grant, you're right. I Lee Grant, I apologize. I just get what you're saying. I apologize because I say that because you gave the stats, I I attributed a sentiment that I hear by many who complain that UPS folks should be happy given that they make so much more above the national average. Lee Grant, you called me out. I give it to you, brother. You're absolutely right. Yeah, yeah, you're right. All you gave was a stat. You're absolutely right, sir. Apologies. Shakula hairstylist says, writers shouldn't strike. I'm also part comedian. Like cops, it's a public service to make the world laugh. No, no, Shakula hairstylist. They should strike. All right. Egberto, the UPS driver is not using their car or gas, are they? I see some Amazon workers use their own cars too. Why? Again, Amazon creates from what some of the drivers told me, it was a test case. What happens is this: if you are driving home on 290 and you're passing the Amazon building or whatever, you can sign up for a service where if you're in the vicinity, you can sign up to go pick up some packages and go deliver it for Amazon. They are trying all kinds of different ways to do these things. And the honest truth about it is, I am not complaining about Amazon trying innovative ways on deliveries, whether it's using third parties, etc. What I'm saying is where we have the organized truckers or that sort of a stuff, we, the laissez-faire Uber stuff isn't going to work for reliable delivery because again, it is laissez-faire. It works. That's why Uber doesn't work when there are big rushes or whatever, because there's no planning per se. There's this stuff about let the market decide. Well, the market can only decide if you actually have supply. But that's another market. That's another subject that I don't want to go into right now. Michael Ron Egberto, the average wage in the United States is $19 per hour, according to Zip Recruiter, which is below living wages. Okay, I'll put that on the screen. Let's see. All right, I can't get it on screen quite yet, but anyhow, let me continue. The cost of brown paint is killing UPS. They use it on everything. What they need to do is use white paint. It reflects. It would make the trucks less hot. They could put white paint on the trucks and just put the brown logo, right? All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. Shakula says, I fell backward and split my head open in 2001, moving a 180-pound cylinder at UPS, and the boss said it's fine, it's just a scratch. You know that the head bleeds a lot, go back to work. I mean, that's a shame, but I believe you 100%. What else have we got here? What else have we got here? Para ver. Michael says, need an alternate for that image. What image is that? Let's go ahead and copy the link, and I'm going to try to get it on the screen for you, Michael. It's just that because I'm in a different location right now, I don't have the great access that I have from that monster computer in the studio. So it's a lot more difficult to get things done, but I think that is what you want to see. And whatever my peeps ask, if I can provide, they get it. If I can provide, they get it. All right, there we go. Oops, I fired off something that I shouldn't have fired off, but there we go. All right, let's go ahead and close that down. Bear with me as I score away a few things here. Looks like that's not going to close down anytime soon. So let's continue. I have another video to show you. This is Governor Inslee. Okay, this is Governor Inslee, what he had to say. I think you guys are going to find this quite a bit amusing, but also important. So let's go ahead and listen to what Brother Inslee had to say. And by the way, Inslee is a governor that I had a problem with at one of the net routes. He had a very racist guy that worked for him. And, even though we had arranged an interview and everything, and the table next to me, which is the other radio station, arranged an interview. Well, anyway, that's another story. Let's go ahead and play the video and we'll take it on the other side. Could not agree more with Washington Governor Jay Inslee. I want you to listen to this and then let's take it on the other side because, in effect, he's saying, no, we can't wait. And we have to stop hyperventilating about those who continue to affect progress. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
You have, just quickly if you can, you have candidates out there like Donald Trump who mock the idea of climate change, and there are a vast number of Americans who ignore it, don't care about it, or don't believe it. How do you convince those people it's time to care?
Well, we can't wait for Donald Trump to figure this out. We don't have time to mess around, to wait for this knucklehead to figure this out. We just got to make sure he's not in office. And the way we do this is vote against climate deniers, vote against people who refuse to assist this moral and economic crisis that we have. You can't wait for these folks. You just got to make sure they're not in office where they can do damage. Let them go off and play golf. We'll solve this problem. It's a solvable problem if we work together. And people are coming around to this very, very rapidly because their homes are burning down. They're choking on smoke from the Canadian fires. When Ron DeSantis wants to go swim and he can't because the water is like a sauna, like a hot tub outside his beaches, we just got to make sure that those folks are not in office. We don't have the luxury of allowing these people to destroy the planet.
Inslee is absolutely right. He calls them knucklehead. I will be a bit nicer. These folks have ill-informed so many, from the coal miner to the oil roughneck to all these guys. They are made to believe that climate change is at odds, or rather, solving the climate issue is at odds with their survival. The truth of the matter is, whether or not it were not going to be more efficient to solve climate change, it is something that has to be done for survivability, right? So therefore, that shouldn't even be a part of the discussion. But ironically speaking, solving the climate change issue also solves our economic issues. It revitalizes society because of so much that has to be rebuilt on using green energy, new technologies. And not only that, it gives us finally the ability to free many countries as well from the dependence on an arcane, evil institution, the oil companies that had used that power to control our military and everything else around the world. Finally, just getting the sun is your form of energy. Just being able to access the waves on your coastline is a form of energy. Accessing the wind around is a form of energy that you don't have to buy from anyone. Yes, you need the tools to create the wind turbines. Yes, you need the photovoltaic cells. Yes, you need all these things. But you know what? If America is that good, virtuous country that it is, producing it at affordable rates for the world. Think about it. There is so much here to rebuild. These hurricanes, etc., should be billed to the folks who caused it. And we should repay the rest of the world because we are the ones who really, the industrialized countries, right, are the ones who really did what's done to the atmosphere at a larger scale than anyone else. But you know what? As soon as we get it together, how do we get it together? As Inslee says, forget about these folks. Simply don't vote them in, and we can move forward as a society. Yes, we can move forward as a society. Sí, podemos mover primeramente como una sociedad al futuro. All right. So anyway, folks. Anyway. No, Mike Cisak, I'm right back in Houston. I've just decided to occupy a different, cooler room than the room that has all the studio lights and the big my studio. It has a screen, huge screen, and all that good stuff. That's a lot easier to use. But I'm taking a different break around to be a bit cooler because that room gets very hot. And when we're at 100 and something degrees, I have two air conditioners running, the portable in there plus the main system, and it never seems to be able to get it cool enough. All right, I got another video to show you all, and this one is Mike Pence. Do I have to? I'll give you the Mike Pence one tomorrow, but I'll give you the Dana Bash, and I'll give you one of them now because I have enough time for the first one. So let's go ahead and do that, and then tomorrow I'll provide la otra. Let's go. You know, Dana Bash all but called the vice president a wimp today. She didn't quite use those words, but telling the vice president, the former vice president, Mike Pence, I can't believe you are taking this stance for people who are actually attempting to hang you. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Just have one last question about this because this is so personal to you. And when I say this, I'm talking about the potential for violence. Donald Trump said this week, talked about how his supporters might react if he is charged and faces potential jail time.
I think it's a very dangerous thing to even talk about because we do have a tremendously passionate group of voters, much more passion than they had in 2020 and much more passion than they had in 2016. I think it would be very dangerous.
Does that kind of rhetoric worry you?
Well, it doesn't worry me because I have more confidence in the American people and in the people in our movement. Look, it was one of the things that infuriated me on January 6th with what I saw, people ransacking the Capitol and engaging in violence against law enforcement officers. Dan, I think that I would say not just the majority, but virtually everyone in our movement are the kind of Americans who love this country, are patriotic, who are law and order people who would never have done anything like that there or anywhere else. So I have more confidence in the American people than that. I hear my former running mate's frustration in his voice, but I'm sure the American people will respond in our movement in a way that will express, as they have every right to, under the First Amendment, to express concerns that they have about what they perceive to be unequal treatment of the law. But I'm not concerned about it beyond that.
That's pretty remarkable that you're not concerned about it, given the fact that they wanted to hang you on January 6th.
So as you see, Dana pretty much asked the vice president, why is it that you would keep this stance on defending Donald Trump from prosecution for something that is likely a crime after we know he instigated that those folks who were out there in Washington had the notion that just maybe we could hang the vice president? Think about that. She pretty much challenged his wimp factor. Yes, she challenged his wimp factor, and he failed miserably. Of course he failed miserably. All right, folks, we are at the end of the program. I just want to thank everybody for being a part of the show. Please keep sharing. Please keep telling folks about what we do here. Let them know that we are a progressive program that entertains the left, the right, the anarchists, and everybody else in between. Why? Because we are one country and we intend to do what? Live together in peace. Live together loving on each other. That's the name of the game, right? Anyhow, folks, please remember, support the program. Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. Politicsdoneright.com/support. Let me pull up the links here that I'm just going to give you one link. I don't need to go into harassing you with to go to this link, that link, this link, that link. I'm going to start just giving you politicsdoneright.com/support. Please go to that link and find a way to support however you can our program. That particular link gives you all the different ways in which you can make sure we continue to do this, continue to be able to do this. Yes, Evette Avery Herrod did rock, and you know what? All of you rocked. All of you rocked. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how this man ends this show, right? I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.